Yo, what is up everyone? How you doing? Welcome to another mediocre build video from your one and only Cartmiz. Today we're going to be talking about a Hellfire build, Hellfire slash Malefire build, technically, using 5 pieces of Scorned Magnamalo. Let's get right into it. With this build, you will end up having 4 Hellfire Cloak, 3 Resuscitate, 3 Crit Die, 3 Crit Boost, 3 Weakness Exploit, 3 Wirebug Whisper, 3 Counter Strike, 3 Mail of Hellfire, 3 Coalescence, 2 Redirection, and you can definitely get 3 Speed Sharpening. You just need to slot in the level 1s, 3 Speed Sharpening, or 3 Stun Resistance, whichever you prefer. Now let's talk about the individual pieces of gear and the weapon we're using. Now, this sadly was the only weapon that I could actually make work for this build. Sadly, because you can't reach 100% affinity, because you don't have any affinity related skills on the armor. So all the affinity you need to slot in. So we were able to get about a max of 85%, at least on weak points, 85% on weak points, slotting in 3 Crit Die. And we're getting another 20% from this hammer, Blower's Hammer. This is the Great Azuchi Hammer. I don't know why the Great Azuchi is called the Blower, but use your imagination. But we also need a hammer with good attack, decent sharpness. Also, we need the level 2 Rampage slot, because that level 2 Rampage slot, we have Magnamalo's Soul, which when it's active, when you have Hellfire Blight, you will get 12 additional attack, which is useful. So you need that level you need the level 2 slot if you want to take full advantage of this build. And also having the additional slots isn't that bad either, so I found that this hammer was your best bet. Okay, the helmet here has 2 Hellfire Cloak, 2 Coalescence, 1 Redirection. We slotted in Crit Boost. Let's talk about Hellfire Cloak right now. It's a little confusing it's a little bit of a confusing skill. Grants Hellfire resistance and confers explosive Hellfire power to your attacks after fulfilling certain conditions. Okay, so at level 1 reduces damage from Hellfire. So that's basically the purple debuff you get from Magnamalo and Scorned Magnamalo. Level 2 increases damage from Hellfire Blast. That's when you drop the Hellfire that you get from Magnamalo onto Magnamalo and it explodes. That damage should be higher. Level 3, you will now automatically get Hellfire Blight whenever any monster is enraged. So outside of the Magnamalo fights, you'll be able to get Hellfire Blight. And at level 4, your Hellfire Blight will last longer. Now you may be wondering to yourself, why would you want Hellfire Blight? Why would you want it? Well, with Hellfire Blight, with Coalescence, once Hellfire Blight this disappears from you, either over time or whether you drop it manually with the Wirebug, you will get a nice hefty 18 plus attack boost with 3 Coalescence. And while you have Hellfire Blight, because we slotted in, we actually slotted in 3 Coalescence. While you have Hellfire Blight, you will also have 20 plus attack. So you will have 12 attack from your weapon, and you will have 20 attack from the 3 slotted in Resuscitate. Should be noted, yeah, you need 3 Resuscitate Techos, so get going. Okay, moving on. Chest piece, Mail of Hellfire, Wirebug Whisper. That's always fun. And level 4 slot here. We slotted in Crit Die. Now, on to Mail of Hellfire. Mail of Hellfire increases defense, but also increases attack. Attack changes to stats, depends on switch skill swap scroll that is being used. So, when you have red scroll here, as you can see, we're sitting at 380 attack right now. But we're also losing defense. We're on red scroll right now. Let's switch to blue scroll. So you'll see we dropped 35 attack, but we gained back our defense. Also, it should be noted, look at all of that negative elemental resist. If I was using an elemental weapon right now, you'd see a nice little boost to elemental damage. But at the cost of just being one-hittable by elemental attacks, essentially. So, when you're in Red Scroll with a level 3 Mail of Hellfire, you essentially have the buff you would get from Dereliction. So I actually think that this is a much safer buff than Dereliction. You know, so rather than losing health constantly, you're just minus about 100 defense, which isn't that bad compared to just constantly losing health. So Mail of Hellfire is actually really interesting to work into your build if you can do it. I'm probably gonna build craft something around Mail of Hellfire specifically, but that's for another video. Anyways, Mail of Hellfire is giving us 35 attack as long as we're in Red Scroll, and depending on your build, you shouldn't be swapping scrolls that much anyway. Which is kind of counterproductive to the fact that this armor set also has redirection, because redirection is specifically for swapping back and forth between scrolls, which doesn't make any sense if you want to maintain either an elemental or a raw damage buff. So redirection's kind of weird on this armor. Let's see. In the hands, we have another level of Mail of Hellfire, Counter Strike Redirection. We slotted into Crit Boost. Coil, we have Mail of Hellfire, Coalescence, slotted in Weakness Exploit, and Crit Eye, and Stun Resist there. The boots, 2 Hellfire Cloak, 2 Counter Strike, and Wirebug Whisperer slotting in level 2 Crit Eye. Counter Strike, by the way. Counter Strike is actually really useful. Nobody is perfect at this game, you know, even speedrunners get hit. You know, you're just seeing... When you're watching like a sub 2-minute speedrun, you're watching like the culmination of hundreds of attempts and the one attempt that went absolutely perfectly. But everybody gets hit, you know? Nobody's perfect, okay? So don't tell me anybody's perfect and you don't ever get hit, because I assure you, you get hit. So, the way Counter-Strike works, or counter attack, is basically, you just get hit and knocked back. You get a nice 25 attack buff for 30 seconds. One of the strongest buffs in the game for just getting attacked. Went from 380 to 405. It's a really nice buff. And this buff lasts for 30 seconds. It's the only buff we can actually test in here. The rest of the effects you can only test in the field. And lastly, our Talisman, fellas, you're wondering. We're not actually using a godly Talisman. I know a lot of you have been complaining, oh my god, your Talisman is so good. This Talisman you can actually get in base game. We just need a Talisman with 2 Weakness Exploit and a level 2 slot at least. So even if you had 1 Weakness Exploit in like 2 slots up there if you wanted, you can make this build. And that Talisman you have Resuscitate. So my attack Talismans don't really do much here, sadly, because... honestly, Resuscitate is better to have than attack, I think. Even if it's not as consistent, it's a larger buff. And, yeah, you can't really slot in, like, much outside of Affinity and Resuscitate, really, in the crit boost. So, let's actually show off how this Hellfire build works, exactly. Because there might be because I feel like there might be a little bit confusion about how it works, so let me just show you how it works. So, basically, it's ideally best used versus Magnamalo, or Scorned Magnamalo. So, when you have Hellfire, whether it from being a monster being agitated, you'll automatically get it, or if you get hit by Magnamalo's Hellfire Blight, you will get an attack buff. Now, this attack buff is really strong. Well, you'll get an attack buff from, number 1, your weapon, having the Rampage Deco in it. Number 2, because you just got hit and knocked back, you will get 25 attack from a counter attack, Counter Strike. And number 3, you will also have a bonus from Resuscitate. So you're getting a 57 attack bonus the moment you are hit by Magnamalo, which is kind of insane. Now, those buffs don't last forever. The Counter Strike only lasts for for 30 seconds. But that's okay. And the moment you lose Hellfire Blight, the moment you lose it, you will get the Coalescence buff. And so rinse repeat. You'll have Hellfire Blight, you'll get all your bonuses from that. You have Coalescence up when your Hellfire Blight dies down. You got an nice 18 attack bonus from there. And versus Magnamalo and Scorned Magnamalo, you have a pretty nice unique build that isn't just your cookie cutter meta DPS build. Unless, of course, you want to use that, you know? No shame if you do. But if you want to use something different, this is a very good option. I would recommend this build mostly being used versus regular Magnamalo and Scorned Magnamalo. If you wanted to, you technically could use this build versus, say, any other monster, really. Because you will get Hellfire Blight. You will get Hellfire Blight the moment a monster gets agitated. But because Magnamalo and Scorned Magnamalo put it on you more frequently, it's honestly best used versus those. And I found that the Hellfire Blight is a little bit iffy versus non-Magnamalo monsters. It like goes on and off randomly, just out of nowhere. And so I found it more consistent versus Magnamalos. So, yeah. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I know this build may not be the best build, but honestly, it's really cool if you ever wanted to just use one full armor set. It actually works out pretty well. It really does. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but I may do with a full Magnamalo armor set, so you can't say that I did a bad job with it. You can, but if you do, you know, I challenge you to make a better build out of this armor, if you can. This build will only get better, by the way, when double crit eye decos come out. Eventually, with the title updates, you'll be able to replace every single one of level 2s to level 4. You'll be able to get max affinity instead of having to settle on having less than 100. Also, it'll allow you to use other weapons. And as far as weapons I wouldn't recommend, like right now, I wouldn't recommend weapons that need support skills, like say Switch Axe, or Switch Axe that needs Rapid Morph, or Longsword that needs Quick Sheath. I wouldn't use weapons like that. I'd probably use Hammer, Sword and Shield, Hunting Horn, weapons that don't really need anything outside of just your regular cookie cutter DPS stuff. But when we do get double crit eye decos, we're able to use different weapons. For the Talisman, you'll probably be able to use a Longsword or Switch Axe. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this build. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, or not. You don't have to do any of those things if you don't want. But stop by my Twitch, twitch.tv/Raymond05. Tell me what you think about me and my hair, or just make fun of the way I look. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, good night and happy hunting.